be a trifecta, and that he went deep, left, center, and then right. High in the air, right center field. Ingles just going to look up, and that one is gone. Nelson Cruz with 3 homers tonight. Stay hot, Nelly. Whoa.
Has there been a day of the baseball season this year where a player has not hit 3 home runs? Marky Billson, Tri-City Sports Now. You just heard that. Nelson Cruz, he had never hit 3 home runs in a game before. He has now 382 career home runs. Does Nelson Cruz. Career dates back to 2005 with the Brewers. He's 39 years old, of course. Just hit 3 home runs for the Twins. Twins are on a pace to become the first team in baseball history to hit 300 home runs. And it's just getting, 3 home runs in a game. That used to be, the talk of baseball for a week, for a month, or so, it didn't happen every day. And now Nelson Cruz does it. After Paul DeJong of the St. Louis Cardinals hits 3 home runs against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Back on Wednesday in a 14-8 victory against the Bucks. Cardinals swept the Bucks in PNC Park. And now the St. Louis Cardinals are tied with their arch rivals, the Chicago Cubs, for first place in the Central. I told you they were coming on. I thought it could have been the Reds. Now it comes out that the Bombs, Goldschmidt, DeJong, everybody are hitting. Then that's what's doing it. And I don't know, it's just getting, I don't mean to be so blah. But I gotta tell, I love baseball, I love the game, and there's just more to it than hitting home runs. And I said this a long time ago, when I was a kid, I'm living before we moved to Tennessee, in the 80s, you could watch on our TV, I was a Pirates fan, and I would listen to all the games on a radio. That was the thing, But in Shippensburg, you could watch the Braves, TBS, that was obvious, The Phillies were broadcast a lot. And then you could get the Orioles. I'd watch the baseball games, I'd watch the Orioles, but man, was it always just... Because the Orioles were always right around for the 3-run homer. And that's what everybody does these days. And meanwhile, you had, as lambasted as the cookie-cutter stadiums were, they did bring an element of speed to the game. You had home runs in the National League, my goodness. But you also had stolen bases. You also had, get them over, get them in. And it was like, baseball is now like if you're trying to say that slam dunks are all that basketball is about. Or shall I say 3-point shots. Which basically also basketball is going to, doesn't it? Seem that way now? By the way, tonight Daniel Norris will try to end his 8-game losing streak. The Detroit Tigers are dropping like a brick. And they don't have, he mentioned here that the Orioles were behind Steve Wilkerson with his slow ball and his big curve coming out, the outfielder getting the first save that a position player has ever gotten in baseball history. No, it isn't. It's the first time since the save rule was implemented in '69, but I heard that and I went, wait a minute. I remember Ty Cobb had a pitching save in 1925. I know that. Actually, was the player manager of the Tigers. He inserted himself into the game. All that. He would, anyway. But you had that. And so that's been the big thing. But the Orioles no longer have the worst record in baseball. It's now the Tigers. Tigers are barely winning playing 300 ball. Their winning percentage might not win you the batting title. And they got Norris from Science Hill on a bump today. Look, take it from me. If you want to buy a house, bet against the Tigers. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. I actually did on Saturday. The thing is, you're not getting good odds. You're getting, 4 to 5 odds and all that on the Tigers these days. So that's the problem with, betting on the Tigers. You can't get good odds for them. You bet 25 and you win 20. That sort of thing. So, but no, Daniel Norris goes on but just to show you just ridiculously dreadful the Tigers, they lost last night, and Jordan Zimmerman got the loss. 33-year-old. You may remember, as recently as 2003, Zimmerman was 19-9 with the Nationals, and he's only 33. You can't be saying, well, he no longer has. He's 33 for crying out loud. That's, I guess, in modern I know some ball players who are done at 33, don't get me wrong and all that, but it seems, relatively young to say your career is over, doesn't it? But Zimmerman taking the L for the Tigers. These are his stats. 0-8 with a 7.57 ERA, and he's in the rotation. Talk about the lack of competitive balance in baseball, and frankly, yeah, you look at this and you're saying, the Tigers at 30-68, and I said last night, this was 2 nights ago, they lost to the Mariners, who themselves are 20 games under 500. And, why do we... It's one of the frustrations. It's like, having the wild card in there. Does this give a false sense of competitiveness, the wild card? I think it does. I've been saying that for a long time. Anyway, his losing streak might just end. I wouldn't, like I said, you'll go broke betting on the Tigers, so I wouldn't do it. But the Tigers are going to play the Mariners. And Norris, who's 2-8 with a 5.02 ERA, he goes up against a fellow lefty, Yusi Kikuchi, who's 28 years old and 4-7, but he's got an ERA of 5.37, which is 35 points higher than what the former Science Hill Stars ERA is. Actually, it was a tough luck no decision in a 7-5 loss to the Blue Jays that Norris suffered last Saturday. He was actually up 5-1, and then the rains came down from the heavens, and he only threw 50-odd pitches and was relieved in the bullpen, collapsed. Tigers allow 6 unanswered runs. Blue Jays win 7-5. So tough luck. Well rested. Fewer than 60 pitches. Maybe the streak ends tonight in Seattle for Daniel Norris. I'm going to talk to Josh Brown of Knockahoma Nation, more baseball, talking about the Braves after this.
The Happy Box meal featuring